Hey guys, it's Megan
and Liz, and welcome back to Noted. Today we're doing a fun episode. This one is going to be, I almost think it might be a two-parter just because of how much we have to talk about. I'm not sure. We'll see how this ends up. It'll say part one or part two or no parts at all. And it's about songwriting.
Oh yeah. And again, speaking of a two-parter, I feel like we have so much to touch on about this. This whole episode is just going to be us kind of talking about some of our most memorable writing sessions, playing some demos from the old days that never saw the light of day that we really like. Just all kinds of fun little stuff like that.
Breaking down the actual logistics of the truth behind songwriting. How do songwriters make money? Kind of sort of the lingo. Fun facts about songwriting that you can tell like when you listen to other artists and stuff.
Yes.
There's just a lot to cover.
Okay, so since we have a lot to cover, let's just do like a 5-minute catch up. And I want to start by saying that both of us forgot to wear our wedding rings today.
Oh no.
I looked at my hand and I was like, oh no. And then I looked at yours and I was like, whew.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
Well, I guess we're not married today.
No, we're not married today. So let's see what has happened in the past week. I mean, we had Halloween.
Yes. Margot was the cutest duck.
Yes, and if you're a mom, I was Miss Rachel. Or even if you're not a mom, if you're an aunt, if you have like a baby friend, you know Miss Rachel.
And Miss Rachel commented and liked Megan's post.
Like the queen herself, guys. She commented and liked my reel. So
that's like, what did you say? Or no, Weston and I were talking about it last night. He was like, that's like the Taylor Swift of toddlers. And I was like, it really is.
No, it really is. That's such a good comparison.
And then I had a reel go viral, which is always fun. But this one, I must say, is completely unexpected. It was of my husband and I being Harry and Marv from Home Alone. And like, I thought it was like an okay costume, but I didn't think it was worth 2.7 million views.
Yeah, like go viral views.
No. I was like, what? But I mean, hey, I'm grateful.
Hey, I'm grateful.
But yeah, so like that was fun. And Weston and I had fun. We went to like a Halloween party. That's pretty much like the highlight of the week, I would say.
Yeah, everything else has been pretty standard.
I feel like we've been busy.
Yeah, we've just been busy, go. I've been, for those of you who don't know, sometimes we do wedding makeup because it's just fun.
So fun.
And I got in this mood a few months ago and I just said yes to a lot of weddings. And right now we're in the thick of it. And I'm like, why did I say yes to that many weddings? And yeah, so we have one, or I guess by the time this is out, we would have had the second one in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And the one that we have to do on this Saturday is very, very fast paced, and I am very nervous.
We're doing a lot of girls and like not a lot of time.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the most challenging wedding that we've ever done time wise, right?
I have had to do this amount of girls before in that amount of time. It
and
just has never been with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not doing the bride, and that takes most of the time. But yeah, so that.
But it is fun, and you always walk out feeling really good, and like it's usually the vibes are high because it's like a wedding day. And
yeah, it's just fun. I mean, other than that, I think we should jump into songwriting now.
I think we should.
Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about.
Because we have so much to say.
Yeah.
Let me see. So I feel like we've got to start a little basic.
Okay.
Because I feel like this is a question that we get all the time, and I feel like it's a random question, but everybody asks it.
Well, let's hear it.
And we can kind of break into like what a songwriting session looks like from this question, but you're gonna be like, oh my god. The question is, which comes first, music or lyrics?
Yeah. Okay. That is just a common question. I feel like not only that we get, but just people who don't write songs ask people who write songs, like, how do you come up with which? Like, first, the music or the lyrics? And honestly, it does not have to be a certain way.
And there's so many different types of writing sessions because like you will go into sometimes a writing session with a track guy, which a track guy is somebody who literally their job is to sit at the computer and bring up beats, bring up guitar samples, like either play guitar, and you will, as you're writing the song, as you're like sitting there like jamming out, he will be like making a full production behind you. So,
and usually in that situation, I feel like the melody comes first.
Yes.
Because he will have this chord progression, and then so you think of the melody, and then you think of like, oh, what type of concept does this melody and this vibe go with? Mm-hmm. So, in that case, and also sometimes the track guy might just be like, hey, I have like 5 tracks already done that we can write to, like, let's play them down.
That's fun too.
Yeah, that is fun. So in that instance, it's definitely melody first.
But then sometimes you go in with like somebody and it's just you guys and the guitar. Mm-hmm. Somebody will come in with like a concept that they're like, I have this concept about, I'm trying to think of like one of our songs.
Switch hearts. We did that.
About switch hearts. Yeah. So like about, like wishing you could switch hearts with someone after a breakup. And it's like, oh, okay. So that is the concept. That is the idea. And you kind of, that's a heartbreaking song, right? So you want to like, so the guitar feels a little slower and you start there and then you kind of like work from the chorus out type thing.
Yeah. And that one really is kind of interchangeable. I feel like sometimes the lyrics come first, sometimes the melody, but it's not really.
It's never either or every time.
Yeah. It's never always the lyrics or like always the melody. But I will say, I feel like between the two of us as a writing duo, you tend to lean more lyrical and I tend to lean more melodic. And I don't know if that's just because I play the guitar. Yeah. So I'm used to thinking that way. But I will like, I feel like you come up with, in the grand scheme of things, like 70-30 lyric.
I don't know that that's true.
60-40?
It really just depends on like the writing session. Yeah. Because it's just so different every time and you're with different people and different vibes and you're in a different mood that day and and
any given day it's like you can walk into a session and you're like, wow, I feel like I wrote that whole song. And then some days you come out and you're like, why am I even a writer on this song? I wrote like a lyric or like a melody.
Yeah. So that kind of leads into, let's talk about our first co-writing session ever.
Okay.
And then we'll go into our best writing session, like our favorite, and our least favorite, and why.
Okay. So our first was Happy Never After.
Which is crazy because that is like such a big song for us.
And that was like our first co-writing session with people that were not ourselves, that is so wild, actually.
Yeah. So before, Megan and I would just like go in her room or like go in the backyard with like us and the guitar and we would write a song together, just the two of us. But a co-writing session is just like what it sounds like. It is when you go into a studio or a writing room or whatever and you meet with one or two, like it can be as many as you want really, and you all collaborate. It is a co-write.
Yes.
Yeah, so this was our first one ever. We were on a trip to Nashville.
Yes, it was the summer between our junior and senior year. We were going into senior year, and we went to Nashville to like write some songs. And it was with Mike Shimshak and Caitlin Smith. And Caitlin Smith is now like an artist. At this time, she was just a writer. But yeah, I remember that was an interesting one because it was kind of just a click and a guitar.
What's a click?
A click is the tempo, basically. So it was like it was kind of like a click beat. Like it was like, and then Shimshak had the guitar, I think.
Yeah.
I brought mine, but I was so nervous. I was like, I don't want to. Like I remember being so nervous, but I came up with the concept Happy Never After, which is like so high school.
Wasn't there like a movie called Happy Never After or something like around that time that like made you think of it or something? There was like a cartoon movie that like made you think of it or something.
I don't know. You might remember that better than I do. But yeah, so I came in with that concept, which obviously now I'm like, oh, that's so young. But like we were young. We were literally 17 years old when we wrote that. And that song wrote itself really fast.
I remember feeling like we didn't write anything. Which is not true. It's just we'd never written with someone else before. So like, and these two are professional songwriters. Like both of them had publishing deals. Yeah. So like their full-time job was to write songs. Yeah. So like they were professionals. Like, they do this every day.
Yeah.
Like, so I remember feeling like we didn't write anything, but that wasn't the truth. It was just
we were so used to only writing with ourselves.
Yes, and only having you be like, I don't really like that. But I remember, like, when they were like, maybe we can beat that line, I was like, oh.
Yeah, it was like humbling. I was like, oh my God.
Okay, so we suck.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, and then that day I remember Caitlin actually sang the first demo.
Yep.
Because
and what's a demo?
A demo is the first rough recording of a song from a songwriting session that you kind of send around everybody to get a feel of the song. So yeah, you do it at the end of the session, and yeah, Caitlin sang that one that day, I think because we were like so nervous.
I think we were so nervous, and also sometimes when you write a song and then you're expected to record a version of it, it's almost like a muscle.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I still struggle with this, that when you go to record the demo at the end of the session, like, you don't remember the song because you just wrote it.
Yeah, that's so true.
And I want to say it was like a combination of we were so nervous, and also we didn't really remember the song. So it was taking us a long time to like, and she was like, oh, like, I'll just do it, like, just so we can like get it down. Whereas like we were so like, it has to be perfect, and I forgot the way that this verse goes, and blah, blah, blah.
And that is a muscle that you learn to get better at. You learn to, as you're writing, store it in like a different place of your memory, which is definitely something we learned. So yeah, that was our first writing session. Obviously Mike Shimshak continued to be like one of our favorite collaborators. It still is in our lives, like, honestly, which is so wild.
Yeah, we worked with him up until I mean, we were writing with him. I mean,
we wrote That Goes with him. We wrote Big Kids with him. I feel like there was
Switch Hearts. He helped produce on Old School Love.
Yeah, like, he is just like all over Megan and Liz. Yeah, the Megan and Liz library.
He's just really good at like that, like, fun, I don't know, he just works well with us. I don't know.
He's a great pop guy.
Yeah, which I know we said that we were going to talk about the good and bad sessions, but this kind of leads me into my favorite.
Worst.
What? No, I want to talk about my favorite, or like the way that you can tell when an artist finds their co-writer. So like Mike Shimshak for us was like a co-writer that we just worked really well with, and it like he made the theme and the thread of our music at that time all sound together. And so like a good example of that is like Tate McRae.
Yes.
Okay. When she started working with Ryan Tedder of One Republic, that's when her music like clicked.
Yeah.
And
Same with Sabrina Carpenter and Amy Allen.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's so fun that if you're like into looking at songwriting credits, which you should be, because it's really fun.
It's a thrill.
Yeah, you can tell when an artist finds their person and finds their favorite co-writer, because it just works. And like all of the songs, like, you'll notice that you're like, oh, my favorite songs by this artist are always written with this one other person.
It's because not only because they're getting the best music, but also because they enjoy working together, and it's really fun.
Yeah, and it's obvious. Yeah. It's so, and I love just like discovering it.
Yeah. But I mean, sometimes like you'll get a random one-off that like you're like,
that's true.
They got a hit out of that session, and they never really said we're never writing together again.
Yeah. I mean, like, think about Katy Perry, Dr. Luke, and Max Martin, like, and Bonnie McKee, really. Like, that was the whole
Taylor
teenage
Swift,
dream
Jack
album.
Antonoff.
Yeah, Taylor Swift, Jack Antonoff. It's just, it's so fun when you see that evolution, and a lot of people don't even know that it's because they changed songwriters.
Yeah.
So it's
Taylor
just really
Swift,
fun.
Liz Rose
was the beginning. Yep.
So,
but anyways, it's just fun to look at that stuff. Okay, worst songwriting session.
Oh gosh.
There's been a lot.
I think we probably have the same one. There's two. This one I won't dwell on very long, but there was one I remember. We were just sitting there for, like, not kidding, I think it was like 8 hours, and like nothing got written.
Was it in LA?
Yes, that one.
Was it with somebody from a band?
Yes. And it wasn't like we didn't get along with this guy. It was just like the songwriting wasn't there. Like we didn't get it. We didn't write a song, did we?
No.
I don't think we did.
So here's the thing. Is like, you will go into these rooms sometimes. Like we went over to his house, and you don't know these people.
Yeah.
Like most of the time, like you just go in cold, and you're like, I don't know how. And creative people are interesting people. Like they just are. Like I would say we're interesting people. And
and this guy came from like a band, so he had like lots of fun stories, and you know, just interesting.
But his creative process just didn't align with ours. And the thing about a songwriting session is like, it's not like you have an official lunch break, or you have an official hard out, or you have official like anything. It's like you can literally, we were sitting there and he was quote unquote working on a track.
And we were just like, we have a picture on our Mac. I remember like on our laptop, because we were literally just taking selfies in the photo booth because we were like, we didn't know what else to do.
And like, and in some situations, and maybe this is like looking back now that we're older, I think we would have just behind his back just like written a song and been like, here, even if it had nothing to do with the track, just to like get out of that room.
Oh, and then the biggest lie you all say when you leave, well, let's get another date and finish it.
You won't finish it.
Nope. It's like, we should get together soon. You won't.
Yeah.
So that one, and then also the one, I literally couldn't tell you even who this was with, but it was in his basement.
I remember like this title of the
Last
song,
Resort. And he was just like a hard rock guy,
and he was also building a track, but he was literally like going in his like drum room and just like doing like crazy drums,
and it was such a hard rock song, like the demo.
I can hear.
Me too.
I remember the chorus. It was like,
your last resort, your last resort. It was, I remember we were doing the demo, I was like, what? I was like, this is, like, we're not Evanescence. That's not even Evanescence. Your last resort. Like
yelling it.
So those two, I think, are burned into my brain.
And then I have one that was... This was one of those rare occasions, we talked about this on the last episode, where Megan and I just were fighting a lot. Like, we were songwriting every day.
We needed a break from each other.
We needed a break, and we had these back-to-back sessions set up with two different writers. And my session, I walk in, and it's a track guy. And, like, some track guys, like, contribute to lyrics, and, like, they want to be a part of, like, the actual, like, construction of the song. And some just, like, whip around in their seat, put their head down, and you do not hear from them until, like, you're ready to lay down vocals. Like, he's listening to like what you're writing, and he's like, and building a song as you're writing it. So it
was just you and that guy.
So at this point, it was the track guy was whipped around in his seat. He was not contributing to the lyric at all. And then this other guy was supposed to be like my co-writer in the session that me and this guy were supposed to write the song, and then the track guy was supposed to like whatever.
And wasn't he like, I don't write lyrics?
That's exactly what he said. I said, oh, you know, like, I kind of had this concept idea, you know, like, what do you think of this? Like, whatever. He says, you know, I don't really write lyrics. I don't do that. And I was like,
you're like, so it's just me?
I was like, so what do you do? Because he wasn't a track guy.
Yeah.
Like, and he didn't have a guitar, and he was just sitting there, and I was like, okay, so I can't even bounce lyrics off of you? Like, it was the most, and he was like, so, like, bragging about, like, how he had just made all this money and like all this stuff. And I was like, but you're literally just sitting there. I was like, I don't understand how you are a songwriter when you say you don't write lyrics and you don't do a track and you don't sing and you don't have a guitar. I was like, I literally, it like something is not computing. So I was sitting there, the track guy like, you know, whipped his head around. I was like, okay, so I'm just gonna like write a song by myself and hope the track guy picks it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, needless to say, we did not get a song that day. Oh, and we went to lunch, which is like...
Oh, yeah, if you're in a songwriting session and they're like, let's break for lunch, and then you go to lunch and you're like, it's just all small talk. If it's like new writers, I should say. Because if it's fun, if it's like...
And it's fun if you like have something good going, and like you, like when you come back for lunch, all you have to do is like record the vocals or like wrap it up.
But if it's a bad session, that lunch is, the silence is so loud,
and you're just like, I don't want to, like, this 2-hour lunch is now pushing over into like, we're not going to get out of the studio until like 8 p.m. and like you don't want
for like this song that is absolute garbage.
Good. Yeah. And so that also happened on that session. And then the man who was like talking about bragging all about all this money he had just made from whatever didn't pay for lunch.
I can't. And didn't you say you and the track guy were like,
yes. Like he was like, I'll drive. And it was like, we drove in like his freaking like Porsche, and then like he made it so painful that he wasn't going to pay for lunch. Like,
I can't.
It was like rude. Do you know what I mean? He was like, he's like, oh no, we're all separate. Or like, you know what I mean? It was like a really like uncomfortable thing.
Bruh.
So that one really, really stuck out to me of just like, why am I doing this?
I remember that's what I thought yours was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Best one? Did we talk about best one?
I don't think I have a best one. I've had so many good ones. Like, I think the worst sessions stand out for me more than like the best, because like I've had so many good ones. Like, when you find a good co-writer, like we were talking about, like all the sessions with Martin Johnson were really fun. All the sessions with Jake and Austin from Behavior were really fun. It's like when you find your people, obviously all the Mike Shimshak sessions were really fun. Like
Casey and Parker.
Casey and Parker, those songs wrote themselves. It was like, I don't know.
Paula Winger.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Are you happy now we wrote with her?
Yes. And Princess Charming.
Yeah.
And just a bunch of other ones.
We've written a lot with her. Yeah, you're right. Like there's and it can be good in like different ways. You know, because the experience can be different, but they're all just, it really just comes down to if you vibe with a person and if you are able to just like let the creativity flow and it's not stopped and you just like feel like you could go on forever. Yeah. That's a good session. So should we go into the Max Martin experience?
Yeah. I think one of the most common questions we also get asked is, what was it like to write with Max Martin? And if you don't know who Max Martin is, just like hit a quick Google on your phone. He's like arguably the biggest songwriter in the entire world. He's written like every massive hit. I guarantee you know a Max Martin song. Like he wrote Hit Me Baby One More Time.
No, literally it's like
lots of Backstreet Boys.
He is a lot of Taylor Swift stuff on 1989.
No, like the whole
album pretty much. Yeah. Ariana Grande's most recent record.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the most prolific songwriter
of our generation.
For sure. Truly. And he's so incredibly talented. And let's talk about how we actually got to write with him, because it's a really unique experience. And I mean, we can say this, like, writing with Max Martin is one of the hardest things that you can do as an artist. Like, as far as getting into the room with him is an incredible honor and an incredible, like, people don't do that. Yeah. So how did we get there?
I was so nervous. I remember going into that. I'm pretty sure, didn't our manager at the time, Grover, he like pitched us to him?
I thought Savin saw us on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah, that sounds right, actually.
So Savin Kotesha, who is in Max Martin's... Yeah, he's a huge songwriter, but he's in Max Martin's, like, camp, you could say. Yeah. Like, he writes a lot with Max, also on his own. He wrote a lot of, like, One Direction stuff and whatever. Cher Lloyd. Yeah. He saw us perform on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and apparently was like, that kind of seems like a song that I would write. Like, who are these girls? Like, they kind of vibe with like the kind of music that I work with all the time.
Just bubblegum pop.
Yeah. And then somehow, you're right. Yeah. Then Grover got into it.
And then we went to lunch with Max. Do you remember that? Before we even like agreed.
No.
You don't remember that?
No. But I'm telling you, between the two of us, we've got a perfect memory. But
yeah, we went to lunch in LA because he wanted to like meet us and like just make sure that we vibed.
Megan, I do not remember that. Where did we go? Like, what did we do? I don't remember
it was
at
in
all.
West Hollywood. I don't remember where we went, but I remember like the lunch, and like I remember we were so nervous because it was just like, show up and be yourself, hope he likes you. And then like as soon as the lunch was over, like Grover was like, he wants to hear like some more demos and like whatever. And
I remember going to Savin's house.
I remember that too.
But I don't remember going to lunch with Max. Like, what?
Yeah.
I must have been so nervous that, like, I blocked it out.
Yeah, and so, like, which was so interesting. So it was, like, after we met with Savin, after we met with Max, that's, like, how we got into that session. And everybody was so nice. It was at Conway, which was so wild.
It's a really iconic studio. I think we've talked about that, too.
And Max is insanely talented. His brain is wired differently. It is wired to write hits and hits only. So we wrote Release You with Savin. I don't think Max was technically a writer on that. He was just a producer. It was Shellback and Savin and us.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had like a track going and like
and the concept, I think, like the title.
Yeah, but the chorus melody I think they had.
Yes.
So we came in and like finished the verses and like the bridge with Savin, and they had like the concept and which was so interesting, and it was like pretty produced at that point too. So yeah, we went in, and I remember it not taking very long.
No. And also that's something too that I wonder about. I'm like, was that track meant for someone else? And then like he just thought it would fit us well, or
maybe they just wrote it and then they were like, oh, that would work for them.
Yeah. That part we don't really know. But then we did like 2 weeks like writing with the camp.
Yeah.
So Max himself is almost like the boss of like probably like 5 or 6 writers at any given time at Conway Studios. So he will come in to like when you're writing a song, he will pop his head in and he'll sit there for like 10 minutes and he'll be like, ooh, I really like this. Like, I don't like that. Like, I hear this. I hear that. Yeah. And it's just things that you're just like, there's a reason that he is so famous and so successful. It's because he truly hears things that are so hooky and so, it's like, how did you pull that out of thin air, and how did it make the song 10 times better?
Something like in We Are Never Getting Back Together, the we like
that's Max.
And also I think we said this, that he always puts his artist laughs on their first song
or something like that. Some sort of, but the laugh or like a that's stupid, or like, you know, like a voice or something. That
he's like recording secretly. So yeah, that was like so crazy. I want to play like the little snippet of Just Can't Help It, because I vividly remember during this writing camp you were recording the vocals on it, and Max walked in, and Liz just like, I was like, oh my god, Max is in the room, and Liz was recording this like really really high note,
the highest note. It was like the hero note of the song,
and he like, it was like, okay, let's do it again. And he like hit the playback or whatever. And like Max walks in, and I was like watching Liz. I was like watching Max. And she just like nailed it. And he was so impressed.
Yeah. No, I hang my hat on that for sure.
So we got to play like that little hero note that you nailed.
Tell me why every time I'm with you, something happens to me. It's so stupid, but I just can't help it. And you know how to get to me. Tell me why every time I'm with you, I just can't help it.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you think about it, like this man has worked with like Celine Dion, Demi Lovato, Christina Aguilera, like the Ariana Grande, like the best vocalists in the world, and you're standing there in a studio hitting the hardest note in the song, and Max Martin is like looking at you while you say, thank God I like hit the note. Like,
no, and it was, I'm pretty sure, actually I'm 99% sure that take is the one they used in the song.
Yeah, in the demo that never saw the light of day.
Yeah, that wasn't even a demo, like that was done.
Yeah. And we wrote that one with Jacob Casher, who J Cash, is that?
Yeah, J Cash, I think is his
He's
writer
also
name.
a huge writer. And then what's his name?
Matt Squire.
But then also we worked with what's his name?
Ricard.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yes.
I love. We vibed with
We
Ricard.
vibed with Ricard. And he wasn't like, he was newer to, and these people are mostly Swedish. Like,
Yeah.
he literally like finds these talented people from Sweden and then like brings them to Los Angeles to like train under him almost as a songwriter and as producers. And Ricard hadn't had anything like pop off quite yet.
He was new.
But then literally I think the next year he had Bang Bang by Jessie J, Ariana Grande, and
we
Nicki
were
Minaj.
like,
we were like, good for you. Good for you, Ricard.
I remember too, Ricard, because he had just come back from Sweden. We were just like talking about Sweden. And I was like, I was such a big fan of Play back in the day.
Swedish girl group Play.
Swedish girl group Play, you know, there's no one else that I can say this to. Them. And he was like, oh, he was like so nonchalant. He was like, oh, I know Anise. And I was literally like, excuse me. But I had to like obviously play it cool, but I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. And inside I was like, oh my god,
of all the people that like come through that studio,
yeah.
you were like, oh my god, Swedish girl group Play.
I was 1 degree away from somebody in Play at one point in my life.
But yeah, so working with Max Martin and that whole camp and Shellback and Savin and everything, I mean, truly, we got to post that picture.
Oh my god, yeah. It is a well-oiled machine. I will say that.
It's a machine. And I do think that we got kind of like, and I'm not complaining in any way, but I do think we got like the basic package in terms of like, we didn't get to totally start from scratch with some of the more experienced writers, which is fine.
But we also found out why. It was because Taylor was doing stuff at that point.
So like Shellback and like Max and all of those writers were like being prioritized to work with Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And again, like I am not complaining, but I will say I don't think that we got like the same experience as Taylor Swift, where it's like you go into the room and start from scratch with like Max and Savin, which we're not Taylor Swift. Yeah. And they have to give their time to those artists, and like the fact that they gave us so much time and we got to work with those writers who then became huge writers is
a dream
amazing.
Come true.
It's a dream come true.
Yeah. I think we should play some demos that we like your favorite unreleased demo and my favorite unreleased demo. This is going to be a two-parter.
No, it's going to be a two-parter because I'm literally looking at this and I'm like, first of all, there's so many songs I want to play.
Yeah.
And those are long, you know, like I think we should play the whole song. Yeah. Like if you're listening, like you want to hear the whole song. Yeah. If not, you can fast forward. And also like there's just more like juicy things about like songwriting that we haven't even touched on.
Okay, so this is going to be a two-parter.
It's going to be a two-parter. Yeah.
So this is part one.
Part one. Let's go into our favorite unreleased song and why.
Okay. I mean, I have a lot.
Well, explain the whole like demo thing again and how our album was supposed to like have.
Yeah, so if you didn't listen to the last episode, basically our album, like our label was always like hanging like, oh, you're going to have an album, a full album. So
save the best songs for the album.
So save the best songs for the album. So like all the EPs we put out, like we absolutely could have put these out at some point, but we were like kind of being told to save them for the album. So that's why I feel like some of our best songs are unreleased, which is such a bummer, but whatever. I don't know. I feel like I have a lot of favorites, but I love Snow. Snow we wrote with David Hodges and Chris DiStefano, and this was before Chris DiStefano was Chris DiStefano. He is now just like a massive songwriter, like mostly in the country space, but he'll dabble places, like he'll show up places. And this one I just really liked. I loved the flow of it, which was a very David Hodges flow.
Which David Hodges, let's talk about David Hodges.
Fun fact, he was in Evanescence.
Wake me up inside.
Wake me up. Yeah. But it makes a lot of sense because he was also like a big writer on the Evanescence songs.
And Christina Perri, 1,000 Years.
Yes. He's just a fantastic songwriter.
Oh, and Crush.
Oh, yes.
By
Crush.
David Archuleta.
David Archuleta. So yeah, that was a fun writing session. I remember that song really wrote itself too. It was
Yeah.
So yeah, I loved the melodies in this song. I loved the concept is like a little to
Little
me,
flimsy.
Yeah, a little flimsy, but the melodies were so good that it almost like made you overlook it.
I think it would have done well. Like if we
For
put it
sure.
out, like I think it would have been a favorite.
And like now I probably would have rewritten it, like tweaked it a little
Yeah,
bit,
yeah.
like concept wise, but I mean, I love it. So let's play it.
I remember when I grabbed the wrong drink. I started walking back to my friends. You said, hey, and I turned around. You had me hanging on the edge. And from that moment, the world was frozen. Love was all we had. That was then, but this is now. I'd do anything just to get you back. But I keep on falling, even though we're over. Like, oh, oh, gotta let you go. As we got colder, the sun was getting warmer. Like, oh, oh, we melted just like snow. How could we forget that we said forever, worse off for better? How could we let such a good thing slip away? Never saw the end. Before you know, with love and slow motion, and everything you said is a heartbreak I can't escape. But I keep on falling, even though we're over. Like, oh, oh, gotta let you go. As we got colder, the sun was getting warmer. Like, oh, oh, we melted just like snow. I'd do anything to get you back. If I could erase all of that, feel the snow all over you and me. And I keep on falling, even though we're over. Like, oh, oh, gotta let you go. As we got colder, the sun was getting warmer. Like, oh, oh, we melted just like snow. Keep on falling, even though we're over. Like, oh, oh, gotta let you go. As we got colder, the sun was getting warmer. Like, oh, oh, we melted just like snow.
My favorite part is at the end. The sun was getting warmer, like
Oh, so good.
oh, oh.
So good.
I love it.
I know.
But I keep on falling,
Oh,
even though
that
we're
one.
over. Like, yeah,
Oh, it's
so good.
Yeah, and like it sounds so quality. And that's the thing, is like that's a demo, which is
That's-
crazy.
And that's, I think, a big part of the reason why Krista Stefano got so far so fast is because you were
You're so
leaving
good
these
at the demos.
sessions with demos that sounded like that. Which
Demos that sounded like a final song, which
Yeah.
at that time, especially in country music, like that was not happening. Like you didn't have these track guys that were cranking out like finished products by the end of the session.
yeah, it was like voice memos.
Yeah.
And also, fun fact, Krista Stefano wrote with my husband a ton. If you remember Memphis High from
TBT.
Need Your Poison. Yeah, he wrote like basically their whole EP with them. Like he wrote. So if you're like in the mood to go listen to a Memphis High throwback, Criminal Love.
Smash.
Yeah, so they were writing with Krista Stefano like literally before he was anybody.
Okay, so we didn't actually discuss this before, but I do have a favorite demo that has not been released. And it is a song called Chills.
Wait, I thought you liked The Guy You Never Were.
I like that one. I would not say it's my favorite one.
Okay.
My favorite one is Chills. That song,
Chills.
It's my favorite. I think it's probably my favorite. One of my favorite songs we've ever written.
That
and
one should have seen the light of day.
No, it should have seen the light of day. And that one we wrote with Josh Kerr, who wrote a lot of early Kelsey Ballerini stuff. He's a great artist in himself. Like, I love his just artist projects.
He's writing a lot of stuff with Maddie and Tay right now, obviously because he's married to Tay.
Yes. I mean, he is just, oh my gosh, I just love his vibe. And he's a track guy, I guess you could say, but he also really writes a lot.
And he's like a producer too.
Yeah. He's really, really good. And then who else was in that session? Jason Duke?
Yeah. Who also, again, he's kind of sprinkled all over a lot of hits. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, but we've written twice with him, I think.
No, I think just that one.
Just that once?
Yeah.
But he's really, really good as well. And I don't know, this song, it's just, I think it's sexy. I think it sounds like we wrote it so long ago, but I still feel like it would do so well if it came out like today.
It's like a simple and sexy little pop song.
Yeah. And I just love the demo. I love our vocals on it. It just really hits for me.
Okay.
And I'm so sad that it's not officially out. So let's go ahead and play it.
The air's on fire, and I don't wanna burn out. You got me thinking all nighter. Boy, if you're down, you're looking at me like I'm something to see. Since we walked in, boy, I wanted to leave. That party is the last place I wanted to be. Oh, oh. So much heat in this taxi, hand on my knee in the backseat. Gotta get me home so we can be alone. We ain't gotta get to the bedroom. We can stop at the couch if you want to. And I can't breathe. Make a move on me. Chills. And my lips won't tell, but my body will. Touch my skin, watch me ignite. Only thing stopping us is a couple red lights. You're looking at me like I'm something to see. Since we walked in, boy, I wanted to leave. That party is the last place I wanted to be. Oh, oh. So much heat in this taxi, hand on my knee in the backseat. Gotta get me home so we can be alone. We ain't gotta get to the bedroom. We can stop at the couch if you want to. And I can't breathe. Make a move on me. Chills. Oh, oh. I want you to kiss me like, oh, oh. Why don't you just kiss me like, oh, oh. I want you to kiss me like, oh, oh. Come on, baby, kiss me. So much heat in this taxi, hand on my knee in the backseat. Gotta get me home so we can be alone. We ain't gotta get to the bedroom. We can stop at the couch if you want to. And I can't breathe. Make a move on me. Chills. And my lips won't tell, but my body will. Chills. And my lips won't tell, but my body will. And my lips won't tell, but my body will.
So that is the end of part 1. What are we going to talk about in part 2, Liz?
In part 2, we are going to talk about more like how songwriters actually make money, like what it means to cut a song and who does it a lot and who doesn't. When you see like a million writers on a song, what does that mean? What does that look like? People always give like so much crap to Beyonce. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Like for having 18 writers on a song. It's like there's a reason and there's an explanation, and it's just interesting to kind of go into that. And also going like cutting a song. Like I love when more than one artist cuts a song. And you don't know. Like I want to go into specific examples of like this artist version versus this artist version. That's really fun. And then also I want to go more into a few more writing sessions that we've done, like a writing session that we had with Diane Warren.
Oh yeah.
Which is the weirdest, strangest, most kooky experience, and it deserves a real like story time explanation.
A breakdown.
And Diane Warren is like a legend in herself, and like the fact that we got to work with her is crazy.
Yeah.
So I really want to talk about that. And I want to play a few more like songs, a few more demos.
I want to talk about also our time with Martin Johnson.
Yes.
And just writing Bad for Me.
Yes.
That whole experience. So we have a lot more to touch on for sure.
Yeah. And more demos that we wrote with Martin that never got to see the light of day, that were supposed to be on our album. Stuff like that we want to go into. So yeah, that'll be part 2.
And yeah, so I hope that you enjoyed songwriting part 1, and we will see you guys next week for songwriting part 2.
Hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed some songs.
Yes.
And you'll learn something next week and enjoy some more songs next week. So we'll talk to you then.
Bye, guys.
Bye.